Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. We're partners committed to you, your business, and your community. From family law to litigation, we're ready to serve. Visit sandbergphoenix.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Hey guys, welcome into Tuesday on Rush Hour Sports. Matt, Pauley, Kevin Wheeler hanging out with you here. We got Billikens basketball coming up a little bit later on. 7 o'clock tonight, right, Matt? So you got a little sports open line?
A little bit, about 45 minutes of sports open line before we roll into Billikens.
Nice. And obviously the Billikens, top 25 team, best team in the conference, certainly tracking toward a tournament team, and maybe even a really nice seed if they end up winning the A-10.
Yeah, they're ranked 21. I believe their Friday night game against Dayton. I saw. Was it Stu Durant? Somebody tweeted out earlier today.
Yeah, I think it might have been Matthew. Was it Matthew Rocchio?
I don't. Somebody did.
Yeah, it was like 18 tickets available or something?
18 single tickets left. Like you can't even get tickets together. So that's great. That is fantastic news for SLU and what Chaffetz Arena can and should be.
Absolutely. And look, it's a damn good team. If you haven't been paying attention, as the season deepens, we obviously will be bringing that a little bit more into the mix because they're going to be a tournament team barring some kind of wild collapse. And I think they're dangerous in the tournament. I think their depth, their versatility, the number of people they can get points from certainly makes them an interesting team and a difficult one to match up with, except for maybe with the biggest of the big boys.
Yeah, and just because they didn't have great teams on their non-conference, that leaves a little bit of a question there. We don't really know what it's going to look like when they're matching up against those power conference teams.
So that's coming up later on, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock opening tip against George Washington tonight. And obviously, between now and 6 o'clock, Matt, we'll be talking a bunch of things. We'll mostly do some hot stove, though. We'll do a lot of baseball here to kick things off. And I wanted to bring up something that you and I were texting about the other day, and you actually brought it up, so I'll let you lay it out there with relation to Brendan Donovan and whether or not he's going to get traded and what it means if he sticks around.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing because Bernie actually talked about this a little bit over at STL Sports Central recently about the expectations for this year, and expectations in a rebuild year, they're not the most important thing. You don't want to totally tank. I mean, you want to be competitive, but the difference between being a 77-win team and an 81-win team or even an 83-win team, like you'd like to be a winning team if possible, but basically there's not a whole lot of difference between all of those. I guess my question, and something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is if Brendan Donovan does not get moved, well, then you have one more legit guy available. You've got an all-star. You've got somebody who has played obviously at a pretty high level. Do the expectations for the team change? And again, it's not the most important thing, but I think it's worth talking about because if a Brendan Donovan trade goes down, then it really feels like you've torn this thing down. If a Donovan trade doesn't go down, Kevin, it's not quite all the way torn down, and I don't know how much that changes, though, what we expect of the team during the year.
Well, I mean, we can vaguely try to figure out who suffers the most from him being back. Like, in other words, who's losing the most playing time. And then from there, just take a look at wins above replacement. And for a general look, Brendan Donovan is not quite a 3-win per year player on average. He was a 4-win player his rookie year, but then it was 1.9, 2.6, and 2.7. So let's say 3. Because last year would have been over 3 if he hadn't been hurt. Sure. The injury clearly. So if the guy he's replacing is replacement level, well, then it could be 2 or 3 more wins to what you expect.
And again, maybe that takes you from 79 to 82. And all of a sudden, because when all of a sudden you're not a below 500 team, maybe you look at things a little bit differently. Again, I'm not trying to make that argument. I don't know. And the more interesting thing, Kevin, and I'm not trying to run. This was my topic. I'm not trying to run away from it because I think it's a little bit interesting. But I do think it's rather remarkable how Brendan Donovan's just presence has such a trickle down effect all over the place. It impacts second, third, first, catcher, corner outfield, DH. The only spots not impacted by whether or not Donovan is there or not really are shortstop and center field. So they're just naturally you're in this spot where there's going to be question marks until we know if Donovan's on the roster or not.
And we can talk the problem with really trying to frame this in a static way, right? In a sure way, is that if he's there, we don't know who else will be at this point, right? We don't know if Lars Nootbaar is going to be ready for opening day, just as one example, because the time frame has been left open-ended because this is a unique procedure that he had on both of his heels. So if he's not ready, no problem, right? Donovan goes to left, or Alec Burleson moves back to the outfield, and you reconfigure the infield with someone else at first base, and there's room for everyone. But if J.J. Weatherholt's going to make the team, and you and I both think that he will, barring something terrible, then somebody's getting shorted if everybody's healthy. And that's the thing that's not annoying. It's just more of like a thing to walk through is now you're back to where you were last year in one sense, where you've got 10 guys that need regular playing time and only 9 are going to get it because, well, I shouldn't say 9, but it will limit how, quote, regular the playing time is for at least 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah, and most of this stuff generally works itself out.
It didn't last year.
Was actually that's what I was about to say. Last year was one of the very rare situations where stuff didn't work itself out. I say it all the time, and I didn't say it much last year. But if I'm going to go back to believing in all my core baseball beliefs, it's that this stuff does work itself out. So you have injuries, you have other things that happen. It's good to have more players than spaces available because at some point in time it's just going to be fine. But we can't assume injuries, we can't assume trades, we can't assume any of that, Kevin. So all we can do is talk about it as it sits, and the guy that's most impacted seemingly by it is Nolan Gorman, who I take grief every single time I bring up Gorman. And I've been very much out there saying I was incredibly disappointed with the way he finished the season last year. He finally got that chance to almost be an everyday guy, and he didn't follow through. At the same time, there were moments last year, and I don't think he gets credit from this from a lot of the fan base. There were moments last year where he was the best hitter on the team. And not just a game here, a game there. We're talking there was about a 5-week period where you could make the argument that he was the best hitter on the team, and we know that he's got a track record that he's had a really good season. He's also had a really, really terrible season. So when people come at me, and people do, when people come at me that basically call me an idiot because I present the idea that there's a possibility that Gorman could be an everyday guy that you can trust, I'm not saying that I think that's going to happen, but I leave open that possibility because A, he's done it before, and B, he's got the skill set that you want for that if he can clean some things up, most notably if he can limit strikeouts and if he can limit how long he goes into these cold streaks. So this is a really long way to get somewhere. That's what's disappointing to me about the potential of this logjam once again, because I don't want this organization to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Nolan Gorman finally got the chance to be a dude for another team and is coming through in a big way, and you never really, really, really gave him that opportunity in St. Louis. I don't know if he's going to walk through the door. I don't know if he's going to be more the guy that he was in the final months of the season last year. I'm not predicting anything, but you can't run away from that skill set.
No, and there's so much else that's kind of a part of this, right? I mean, what's Jordan Walker? Does he play well enough to merit playing on a regular basis? Does he play himself to Memphis? Seriously doubt it, but I mean, it's at least a valid question to ask. If he has a terrible spring, do you do it again?
No, I don't think he has he has to play himself out of a job. If he play a game tomorrow, he would be the starting right shooter for the Cardinals,
as he should be.
But he can play himself out of a job.
Can Victor Scott? Because they don't have anybody else to play center field except Nathan Church, and Nathan Church hasn't shown any ability to hit at the major league level either.
Yeah, that's the problem. If Jordan Walker doesn't make the team out of spring training, well, you throw Burleson in right field, you throw Gorman at first base, and you're fixed.
Or Donovan at first, whatever. You have options. Yeah.
You can make Herrera first base. There's a bunch of things you can do.
Yeah.
Lars Nootbaar is the only other guy who's gotten consistent Major League time over the last couple of years that's still around that's played center field, and we don't know
after
if
the
he's
heel
gonna be healthy to start
problems.
the season.
Yeah.
I think just sticking him in the corner makes the most sense. Maybe Nathan Church is that guy who, kind of like Mason Wynn and some other guys, needed that feeling of Major League Baseball a little bit last year and didn't really find success, but now into his, potentially his first full season in the big leagues if he wins a job. Maybe he's somebody that takes a step forward, but it's a lot more murky on what you're going to do in center field if Scott plays himself out of a job, where you have so many different options if Jordan Walker plays himself out of a job.
Yeah, that's the really fascinating part, because again, I think you want all of these guys here and playing, but and I don't know that this applies to Gorman. I think if Gorman has a bad spring, he's just a bench player in the big leagues, and you sort it out as you go, based on his age and service time. But I'm not sure that's 100% the case with Scott and Walker. If they look like they're really having a hard time in spring, I'm not sure I repeat what I've done the last couple of years. Although Victor Scott had the first couple of good first months last year. April and May were pretty good, but then it was just a constant downward slope after that. And as we've talked about before, he just has to make more contact in the zone. He swings and misses at too many strikes. He doesn't chase, and he walks a bit, which is crazy for a guy that fast. All he's got to do is put the ball in play when it's in the strike zone, and he'll be a more productive offensive player.
Yeah, we also, Kevin, can't be lulled into spring training stats that are front heavy from the first 2 or 3 weeks.
You got to
of spring.
consider when you're facing the big leaguers.
Yeah. So if those guys are coming out at the end of spring and they're sitting there with really good numbers, but it's all because of what they did in the first 2 weeks of spring, I don't want to have the conversation about how good of a spring they had, because really all I'm worried about is what it looks like when they're facing dudes who are actually going to be in the big leagues this year.
Good call. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on Rush Hour Sports. All right, coming up next, we're going to stay with baseball and change it up a little bit. Matt, I saw a breakdown. It's from 2024 and kind of combining 2025, but it ranks major league teams based on the percentage of revenue that they spend on payroll, which I think is really interesting. And we'll kind of talk through that and what that means for labor talks coming up later in the year. Next up on Rush Hour Sports.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
DQ presents The Spicy Menu. For a limited time, try the new Flamethrower Chicken Strip Basket for $6.99 with spicy, bold strips that heat you up. Served with a side of famous DQ soft serve as a dip to cool you down. That's right, dip those spicy chicken strips right into soft serve. Plus fries and toast, all for just $6.99. And add a new pineapple lemonade sparkler or cooler made with tahini. It's the limited time only Spicy Menu. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy, tastes good. Participation may vary.
Breakfast burritos for the morning brainstorm. Easy Cater. Paninis for the lunch and learn. Easy Cater. Barbecue for the clients from Boston. Easy Cater. Brownie boxes and mini bundt cakes for Brenda's workiversary. Easy Cater. One simple platform to feed any size group with food they love from favorite restaurants. Plus tools to help you meet dietary needs and stay on budget. Easy Cater. All the food for your workplace, all in one place. Start an order at easycater.com.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, this traffic reports a service of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. There's just a little slowdown northbound 170 up through Airport Road. Not even delayed back to Scudder, doesn't seem. Southbound 170, that's just a slowdown. But it goes from Del Mar all the way down to 64. Westbound 70, west of 94 out to Cave Springs, just sort of slow as you go. After that, you're good to go. Westbound 64, a backup from approaching Kings Highway out through Clayton Skinker jammed. It's a little slow west of Spady to Ballas, and a brief delay at Prospect. Southbound 270, Olive down to 64, busy, but after that, you're wide open running. Westbound 44 backed up from Kings Highway to Hampton, slow to southwest as it opens up there, and then you're in good shape past that. Southbound 55, just a little busy at Bates. Eastbound 64, we still have that short back up downtown past 14th Street. They had that stall in the right lane. Need a new garage door? Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. Deadline to enter is the end of the month. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. I'm Roger Brand in the Michaels Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on Rush Hour Sports. And, with 2026 building up to be the labor battle, because the year before CBA talks, it's always a labor battle, and it's always framed poorly, I think, by too many people in our business, Matt, who tend to make it just owners versus players, when the reality is a lot of this is just owners figuring out how to work together.
There's factions on each side.
Yeah.
Need to get figured out.
Yeah, so it's more complicated than that, although I do think the league and the owners often want players to solve problems that are the league's and the owner's creation. But, whatever. We'll sort all that out. But what I think, what's at the core of a lot of this is who is spending what, right? Mm-hmm. There are multiple complaints, and I think they're all valid, by the way. I don't think any of these are invalid complaints, but you have the complaints about the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets, who can run up ridiculous payrolls, pay all the luxury taxes, and never even blink at it. It's no big deal, right? They can sign any star player that they want to. And on the bottom of the end of the spectrum, you've got smaller market teams that don't spend anything. And, like, for example, this past season, the 2025 payroll plus luxury tax bill, okay? So this is both what you're paying for your players and what you're paying in luxury tax. So the Dodgers were $549 million, which has people upset for obvious reasons. Probably not so much at them, but more upset at the system because they're just following the rules. I don't have any animosity toward them. I just think the rules are stupid and the setup is stupid. But then at the bottom of the spectrum, you've got total payroll for the White Sox and the Marlins being $87 million. So
$400 million difference.
So there's do the multiplication, right? I mean, it's 9 times, almost 10 times as much money, but it's 8-9 times as much money. And again, revenue is bigger, right? So the Dodgers had revenue approaching $800 million. The Marlins had revenues of over $300 million. The White Sox had revenues of over $277 million. So those teams are right there, $270, $300 million, and only spending 25 to 30% of it.
And that's the problem.
And this is the problem, is this gap. So if you look at the bottom, by the way, one of the worst teams in baseball last year when it came to percentage of revenue spent on payroll was the Cubs.
They're terrible. And
their revenue was $584 million. They spent $213 million. They are bottom 5 in Major League Baseball in the percentage of revenue that they spend on their payroll.
It's terrible, and the Ricketts will come out and tell you that they don't even make money. They will look you in the eyes and say, we're a cost-neutral business here. We don't make money. We don't lose money. We're right. We put everything we possibly can back into the team. And it's the biggest load of word I can't say on the radio.
You can say crap.
Okay, whatever. It's stronger than crap, Kevin. It is much stronger than crap. It smells worse. It looks worse. It tastes worse. Everything about it. It's worse. And it's terrible how little money because the Cubs don't act like the Dodgers. The Cubs don't act like the Yankees. The Cubs don't act like the Phillies, where they should. And it's good for the Cardinals, so maybe I shouldn't be angry about this because honestly, and this is like on behalf of Cubs fans, and I don't need to come here to the defense of Cubs fans, but in this division, the Cubs, from a financial standpoint, should be able to just kind of control the division on an every year basis, and they don't do it.
No, and so the only, according to, this is from Spot Track, so this is not, like, Major League Baseball doesn't put these numbers out. You'll get them from Forbes and things like that, too. So they're always third party. They're always somewhat estimates, but they're definitely close. There are 2 teams in baseball that had more revenue than the Cubs last year. Dodgers and Yankees. And the Cubs rank, and so the teams that are near the Cubs in the percentage of their revenue spent on payroll, the teams that surround them are Milwaukee, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, White Sox, Marlins. That's pathetic.
It is. So every Cubs fan who is upset at the Ricketts has every
they
right
are totally
to
justified.
Be upset at them.
Cubs fans.
Yes.
And by the way, you know who else is really bad? Boston. $574 million in revenue. That's 4th most in baseball. And their payroll's $242, so they rank 23rd in baseball in percentage of revenue spent on the roster, on payroll.
That frustrated the current Cardinals president.
Well, and it's not a coincidence, by the way, that the Red Sox spent a bunch of money this year in free agency and adding in trades, because they were feeling the pressure, I think, from people in town. But I guess the point here is,
but hold on, pause real quick. Cardinals ate money on those deals.
Sure, but they took on some and they added others in free agency, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they added what's his name, Pete.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Alonso.
Yeah.
I just don't know why I was brain farting on his name. I'm like, big first baseman.
Polar bear.
But the part that needs to get fixed is closing this gap, right? So these are all things that are true, and unfortunately, we see a lot of arguments that argue past each other, like, oh, the Dodgers and the Yankees, they spend too much. Okay, all right. But as a percentage of revenue, some of them don't spend that much more than other teams do. The Padres spend a lot of their revenue on payroll. Arizona Diamondbacks, they were top 5 in this category. They spend 2/3 of their revenue on their payroll. So, like, there are smaller level teams. So the Arizona Diamondbacks have the same revenue streams as basically the Pirates. But they're carrying a $215 million, $219 million payroll. That's where the Pirates should be. If Arizona can do that, Pittsburgh can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure people are listening going, well, where are the Cardinals? It's a really hard time
I'll give it
to
to
talk
you, yeah.
about this.
Yeah, the Cardinals. The Cardinals in the first year of a paring back, because they did reduce payroll last year, and they reduced it again from last year to this year. So they ranked 20th in the league, and they're right there with Cincinnati and Oakland. Well, not Oakland, but the A's and Colorado, where they're right around 44% of that. Now, when they're good, they've been more in the top 10 in this, top 10, 12. Right. So when they're actually in a winning mode, they're usually higher. But they're not right now because they're in a rebuild.
And, Kevin, hopefully you and I are still hosting this show together once the Cardinals are back to a competitive period. And we can revisit this at that point. And if the Cardinal, we've said it over and over, once the Cardinals are back to a point where they can legitimately be winning and winning at a high level, the expectation is that payroll is going to go up, and I think this is the number that you need to look at. It's not raw payroll, and I mean, that's okay to look at and see where it ranks.
It's the rank of the two,
Yeah. Go see where the Cardinals sit in terms of revenue and the amount of money that they're putting back in.
Amen, brother. All right, that's Matt Pauley. I'm Kevin Wheeler. Got some more baseball. We're actually going to do a little football later on in the show as well. It's Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
St. Louis has a voice.
This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
That voice has shared our stories from headline to history.
The St. Louis Blues are the Stanley Cup champions.
From moment to memory.
Now there is only one Berlin.
Among those voices, Wendy Weaves.
We'll have more on a troop deployment to Bosnia.
Working at KMOX is an honor and a responsibility to represent this community. It's one we take seriously. KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs. SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Buy big brands with Pro-Am Golf, test your skills, and win prizes while they last. VIP tickets at STLGolfExpo.com.
At 5:30, it's clear and 23 downtown at the Gateway Arch. Good evening, I'm Scott Jagow. Our top story right now, it turns out the feds have been collecting information about protesters in Minneapolis since ICE arrived. Sources tell CNN today one tidbit from that data, Alex Preddy had a run-in with officers a week before he was shot. CNN says he was tackled while protesting the detention of others, and ICE agents broke his rib. And then, of course, last weekend, the shooting. More on that from Stacey Lynn.
CBS News has obtained a memo sent from Customs and Border Protection to congressional officials detailing what happened leading up to the shooting. It confirms 2 federal immigration officials discharged their firearms during a struggle with Preddy. And it says while he didn't brandish a weapon before he was shot, a Border Patrol agent was heard yelling he's got a gun multiple times during the incident. It also says law enforcement used pepper spray on Preddy and a woman before shots were fired.
A judge's threats lead to the release of an Ecuadorian man who was in ICE custody in Minneapolis. The judge ordered the head of ICE, Todd Lyons, to appear in person in his courtroom this Friday so he could explain the lack of hearings for detainees. But the judge said he would cancel that appearance if this guy, Juan TR, was released in Texas, and he was today. Missouri officials want residents to take a closer look at their insurance after the winter storm.
The Missouri Department of Commerce and Insurance says Missourians dealing with frozen pipes, roof damage, vehicle damage, or power outages should call the state's consumer hotline. Officials say many homeowners' policies cover frozen pipes, ice-related roof damage, and even some food loss, and comprehensive auto insurance often covers ice damage to vehicles. They also urge people to reduce winter risks by keeping homes heated, trimming branches, and practicing fire safety. Matt Pilger, Missouri Net.
Grocery stores are trying to refill the shelves. Dan Shaw is with the Grocers Association in Missouri. He says they do get delivery trucks several times a week.
Road conditions certainly will be a challenge, but I can tell you that the grocery industry, the dairies, they are doing everything they can to make sure supplies get to the stores so the consumers can feel safe knowing that there's food there. So they're working every minute they can to make sure the product's there.
The temperatures are already plummeting tonight.
Tonight, 0. Wednesday, sunny and 29. We are ahead of another Arctic cold front. Thursday, clouds, some sun, very cold day. Thursday, 20. Friday, partly sunny, a high of 15. Sunny and cold all weekend. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Temps have already dropped about 10 degrees in the last hour. We're at 22 right now downtown at the Gateway Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
Being first in line can be very important to homeowners. First in line for the plumber, first in line for the HVAC guy, first in line for Banner Construction. It's Banner Construction's winter home event, and you can be first in line this spring and save before the annual price increases. Banner Construction is a James Hardy and Pella window replacement specialist, and now is the best time to schedule a free in-home consultation with no obligation. Call 314-569-1050 or see them online and have a banner day.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-284-1238. 800-284-1238. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-284-1238.
Hey, Happy New Year, big boy.
Hey, what's up, Izzy? Also known as the Kool-Aid Man. You got any New Year's resolutions?
I got one, Eddie. I've promised myself to spend more time on that toasty, warm, huge, heated outdoor patio of yours. It's nothing like having your coat off, drinking the coldest beer in town with hundreds of your family, friends.
Man, it is a toasted patio, and that's a great resolution. And, thanks for not mentioning things like weight loss and health kick. And those would be hard in Fast Eddie's. It'd be hard to lose any kind of weight or take away from anything when you got the 5-pound Fat Eddie burger, the hot chick on a stick, that Big Elwood on a stick, and those succulent peel-and-eat shrimp.
Yeah, I am not losing any weight hanging around your place. I learned it's a lot easier just to make those resolutions simple and fun, buddy.
Man, and that's easy. You're right. That's a great resolution. So make your resolution fun. And head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air. You know where to go across that big, beautiful Clark Bridge and come into Alton, Illinois. So like Mr. Shannon always said, if you're 21 and in the mood, we'll see you at Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
Kool-Aid Man.
Thank you, St. Louis, for making Genesis of St. Charles your most trusted and #1 Genesis dealer in Missouri for 2026. We know your time is valuable. That's why every purchase comes with 3 years of complimentary Genesis Service Valet. Plus, this month only, sign and drive a new Genesis with only your first payment due at signing. And leases start as low as $319 a month. That's right, $319 a month with only your first payment due at signing. We'll bring the test drive to you. Visit genesisofstcharles.com today. Based on GMA sales records for 2025. Unapproved credit. See dealer for details. Offer ends 1/31/26.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55. But unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, Rush Hour Sports. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Let's pick up on that conversation again, Matt. Just picking up on the cost of doing business in Major League Baseball, right? Because what we all are talking about here is closing the gap between teams like the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, the Yankees, teams that spend. I mean, keep in mind, by the way, the Yankees are only 11th when it comes to percentage of revenue spent on payroll and luxury tax. So their fans probably have a little reason to be irritated with them too, because they only spend about 50% versus the Mets, who spent 90% of their revenue on payroll. Now, go ahead.
There is a threshold that you cross where I stop worrying. If you've got so much revenue, Kevin, there's going to be a threshold where I stop worrying about what percent you're going to be. You can be the Dodgers and go spend gobs and gobs and gobs of money, but that's just the advantage of being in a big market, being in a market where you're able to make lots of money. The Mets can go do what they want to do, but a lot of their money that they spend has been spent poorly, especially pre-Stearns. So I'm not overly worried about the Yankees. That's one where like you're across the line, you're fine.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, if I'm a fan and I know you got an extra $370 million in revenue sitting there and you still got holes on the team, I'm not going to be thrilled about it. Because you can fill that hole. You're just choosing not to. And that's a big difference between a lot of them and a lot of other teams. But I think what's interesting is also factoring in what it costs outside of payroll to run a major league team.
Sure.
And that's not widely published. It's not something that, again, it's not something that Major League Baseball comes across and posts, but it's also not uniform. A lot of teams spend, let's say, low-end teams, Matt, I think are around $150 million when it comes to non-major league payroll costs. So stadium payments, running your minor league system, paying your front office, your coaches, your minor league instructors, all that. Low end is probably 150, high end's probably 250, and a lot of that depends on how many instructors you have, how many labs have you built, right? How much technology do you have? There's a range there. So when you think about that, that's what we should be thinking about as we figure out what teams should be spending.
There's also other things, Kevin, and this was written about in The Athletic maybe a year ago or so, where the teams were compared, and I think somebody brought up like the plane that the White Sox travel in, which is terrible compared to the Dodgers that I think take two separate planes. So that's you want to have a nice
that would fall in that gap between 150 and 250 million dollars in expenditures.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. People don't even think it's easy to think about how much are you paying the instructors in the minor leagues, but how much are you paying for a nice plane to travel the players? And if you don't pay for that, if you're the Rockies and the White Sox, well then that hurts you because guess what? Players really don't want to go play for a team where you're uncomfortable in the air for all your trips.
No, not at all. All right, back to this conversation in a second, but let's see what's happening on the roadways here in your afternoon commute and check in with Captain Roger Brand.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, Kevin, it's not a bad run out there. Of course, we have Blues and Billikens at home tonight, so a lot of folks coming downtown. But even that, the delays are pretty minimal right now. Eastbound 64 just slow 170 to Big Bend. South 170 is backed up at the Parkway down to 64. Westbound 64 is busy from the Science Center out through Bellevue. But after that, you're home free out into the Wentzville area. Westbound 70 has cleared out. It looks good from downtown all the way to Wentzville. Westbound 44, west of Kings Highway past Hampton. It's opening up before you get to Southwest. Southbound 55 looks great from downtown all the way down to Festus, and South 270 is clear as well. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
I mean, thanks, Roger. Obviously, getting back to the baseball conversation, Matt, and you're looking at this. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is I think that's why this is important for us to talk about the Cardinals' payroll as it relates to total revenue, and this is where attendance and the local TV deal really matter. So you can see the Cardinals' payroll is coming down because their revenue's down. So according to the numbers here, their revenue for 2024 leading into 2025 was $373 million. But we know that that's going down. It's going down because the local TV deal is paying less each year now because they're having problems with the company that runs FanDuel Sports Midwest. And ticket sales are going down. So when you add in that, let's say the Cardinals now are in the mid-range of that extra expenditure outside of payroll, right? Since Chaim Bloom came in, they've added a lot, right? A lot of instructors, a lot of scouts, a lot of evaluators, a lot of technology, right? They're redoing Roger Dean Stadium and all of the facilities down there. Let's say that they're a midpoint team and call it $200 million outside of Major League payroll. Well, that puts them, if they're spending that, the 160 that they were at last year puts them at basically break even for the year at $373 million in revenue. That would put you at $373 million in revenue and put you at $360 million in expenditures. That's unique. They're not normally running it that tight because revenue's not been down, but it is right now. So we have to keep this in mind that we should be judging all teams how they go based on their revenue. So if you're a team that's only spending 25% of your revenue, you're doing it terribly wrong. That's not fair to your fans. That's not okay. But if you're doing it and you're at a reasonable place where, all right, that margin's not that great, or that margin's not as big as it used to be because, look, when you're not good, your attendance drops. And the thing that helped the Cardinals stay high in payroll previously was attendance.
Attendance made an impact. And we're not crying poor for the Cardinals.
Not at all.
These are billionaire owners.
In normal circumstances, they would have the money to spend a $200 million payroll.
Right. And if you take, and I'll use air quotes for people who are listening, if you take a loss one year, this team is going to be back with a full stadium and winning ways, and everything's going to and the TV stuff's going to get settled here over the next year or two, especially once all the TV deals come open. And the other side of this is, and everybody will tell you with the Cardinals, that the Ballpark Village business is run independent of the baseball team.
It's counted separately for these purposes.
Yeah, you don't think that they're taking a hit over at Ballpark Village?
With less
that place
people.
is a ghost town after a Tuesday night game with a stadium that was one quarter full.
But it's also still a revenue draw overall.
Yes.
But it's also a good point to bring up too, Matt. There are only certain things that are designated baseball revenue. And that's what's being measured in these charts, right? So that is TV money, attendance, anything made directly at the ballpark. And then I think it probably includes merchandise sales, but teams all split that pretty equally anyway, that revenue for licensing deals and things like that. So
yeah, the stuff that you buy at the ballpark, the revenue goes to the team.
Right.
But if you go to like fanatics.com or whatever,
right,
and buy
it's an
something
even
with a Cardinal,
split. Yeah.
that's an even split across baseball.
Right, because they're just licensing out for the same fee for the whole league, not team by team. But at the team stores, obviously, it's the team's control. So the point of bringing this up is we need to kind of consider that as we're evaluating where they're going. And a lot of teams right now. So, and the Cardinals, by the way, they'll probably make a good bit of money this year because their payroll is going to be way down. And I would assume revenue is going to go down from that number that we're just talking about, but probably not that much. Probably not as much as the payroll went down. But again, the timing is, okay, you're in a rebuild, you're losing revenue. This is the time to bring it down as long as you bring it back up when that money starts to go back up. And hopefully the new CBA starts to level that revenue playing field, not for the Cardinals, but for the whole sport top to bottom.
Yeah, and it'll make the sport healthier. It's crazy, Kevin. I'm going to be in Jupiter, Florida in less than 2 weeks. That's when spring training gets underway. Not only do we not know where the games are going to air on TV, they're going to. We just don't know the final destination. Right. The Cardinals are sitting here having no clue, zero clue, what the revenue is going to look like from a TV rights standpoint.
And they're not alone. There's what now?
No, they're
like
not.
12, 15 teams in that boat right now?
I don't know if it's that many at this point. It felt like because FanDuel, Bally, Main Street, Diamond had already lost a bunch. So maybe like 9.
Okay.
But it's like a third of the league.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And that's part of what needs to get solved, I think, by the owners, not in collective bargaining, and then that will help solve some collective bargaining issues. We got to do a better job of sharing the revenue so that maybe the big boys get less of the national TV money, or you can just chip in more of your own revenue. Now, there's a lot of ways to slice it up, but you can do it any way you want to. But you've got to do it where we're controlling the top and getting the bottom to spend, because both things are problems. It's not an either or. It's not just, make the Pirates spend. No, you need to do that. But you do also need to rein in the Dodgers a little bit at the top end, too. Right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a bad feeling when much of the league goes into the season, whether it's true or not. I think we agree it's not true because of the randomness of baseball. But it's just a bad feeling when a third of your teams feel like they don't even have a chance to compete from a fan standpoint.
Absolutely. All right, real quick break. We're going to come back and do a little football. One of the greatest coaches in the history of the NFL is not making the Hall of Fame ballot in his first shot. It's Bill Belichick. Let's talk about why that might be coming up next on KMOX.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-284-1238. 800-284-1238. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-284-1238.
It's 2026 and it's time to get your home zero-resified by calling our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119 plus a free hallway, and take 15% off regularly priced services when you mention the KMOX special. ZeroResSTL.com.
Selling your home? Every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. My friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. Check out the only agents I trust. Go to thegelmanteam.com. That's thegelmanteam.com.
Hey guys, Kevin Wheeler here. I want to tell you about 213 Complex. And you can pick that up at supplement superstores. And quite simply, 213 Complex is the most effective and powerful all-natural weight loss supplement ever developed. Here's what it's doing for me and what it'll do for you. Boost the metabolism. Gets it working at full go all the time. Helps with cravings. And man, that's a big deal for me. All-day focus energy with no jitters, no crash at the end of the day. It's a great tool for achieving your goals. Get out to supplement superstores. Tell them Kevin Wheeler sent you in. They will knock 30% off your 213 Complex. And you can find your location at supplementsuperstores.com.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, again, if you're coming in town for the Blues or the Billikens tonight, there's just a little bit of a backup on eastbound 64, 170 into about Big Bend downtown. It looks good. They cleared that earlier stall. South 170 is even better. It's just, maybe Brentwood down to 64. Westbound 64, that's still slow west of the Science Center, headed out to Big Bend. Westbound 44, about Hampton out through Southwest. You got a little backup there. Southbound 55 looks good. South 270 looks good. Out west, westbound 64 and westbound 70, west of the 270 interchanges out to Wentzville is fine, and the Illinois interstates are good to go. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, Rush Hour Sports getting ready to wrap up. Sports Open Line after the top of the hour. Short show for you, Matt. What are you doing in the first 45 minutes?
Yeah, we'll have it's a Tuesday, so that means Amy Marscores will be with us.
Hockey Amy.
For her weekly blues segment. We'll talk some more baseball, might get into a little bit of football, so we'll see. And we'll preview SLU basketballs. They've got a big one tonight. George Washington is not a slouch, and you don't want them to look past this game for what is one of the biggest games in the A-10 regular season coming up on Friday.
Yeah, you got Dayton on Friday, so that'll be a big one. All right, let's talk about the football news today. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, and we don't have a lot of time to spend on it anyway. But Bill Belichick will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So there are 50 voters that select the finalists. You need 40 of 50 votes to be on the list, which means at least 10 of these voters said nope. The guy with the most Super Bowls and the third most regular season wins in the history of coaches of the NFL does not get to be on the ballot for the first time.
Yeah, seems crazy. I guess you start to do the why, and I have a few possible answers.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them think that Belichick's not done and he's got one more stint coaching in the NFL at some point. Maybe some are kind of embarrassed for him with the personal stuff and
that
the
shouldn't
girlfriend.
play in, though, man.
It shouldn't, but these voters, for
The
everything,
first
they
thing-
can consider it.
The first thing I could see, because you're like, he's just going to
Okay.
come back. But the second one, if they're thinking that, they're just wrong.
And then the third one, which I bet is true, I bet some of these voters kind of have a list of people that they've been voting for to get onto the ballot every year, and they put the emphasis on how long you've been waiting as opposed to maybe who is most deserving. So they basically put Belichick in line.
It's just I can't stand Bill Belichick. I think he's a clown show at this point. I think he's always been someone who has skirted with cheating. He got punished for the Spygate thing. You had Deflategate. You've had all kinds of things going on there. I'm not a fan of his. But to exclude maybe the best coach in history for something from 25 years ago is a bit much. But also, and by the way, just to get into what you brought up there, in the ESPN story that broke this down, and it was Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta, they cited a veteran Hall of Fame voter saying, quote, the only explanation for the outcome was the cheating stuff. It really bothered some of the guys, which, again, okay, but then why is Robert Kraft on the ballot this year? Will it be held against Tom Brady? When Tom Brady's time is up, will that be? Why not? We can't just like pick one dude. This is my whole problem with the steroid era treatment in baseball. We've picked the scapegoats and we let everybody else go.
Yeah, and I don't like. Honestly, I went through those reasons, Kevin, and you didn't hear me mention the cheating stuff. Like that barely pops up on my radar. It's out there. It's true. Maybe I should be thinking more through that stuff, but. Like you said, that's now the difference with Tom Brady is Brady did it before the cheating accusations, and then he went and did it after he left New England. So it seems more real. But the Kraft thing, absolutely. I mean, if anybody should be held culpable for those type of things, it's the owner of the team. So if these voters are not putting him on, it's like virtue signaling. I mean, it's just it's dumb.
You want my tinfoil hat theory?
Yeah, I love tinfoil.
I don't know that I believe this, but that's why I'm calling it a theory. I think this is Robert Kraft exerting influence on the people he influences, because his Belichick and Kraft have been on awful terms since they fired Belichick. They've been basically at war, And this feels to me like Robert Kraft, either directly or indirectly, or just friends of Robert Kraft doing him a solid, making Belichick pay for the way that all went.
That could be. I mean, it's ugly.
It feels really petty.
Patriots scouts are not allowed to come and watch North Carolina practices.
Yes, right.
Like that's
by the way,
where this thing is at.
That's Bill's wrong there for sure because you're harming your players.
Yeah, you got a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds who would like to use that North Carolina opportunity to go to the NFL. Give them the opportunity to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
That's the selling point for Bill Belichick in college football, that this guy's going to get you closer to the NFL, and then you go say, oh, but the scouts from this one team that I'm angry at can't come here because I'm not allowed there, so they're not going to allow the thing. It's dumb. It's dumb. You know what? I don't think that's a.
You don't think that's tinfoil hat?
I love conspiracy theories, and I don't think that's a crazy conspiracy theory.
I mean, Robert Kraft is very powerful in league circles.
Yeah.
He knows everybody, and people like Bill Polian are on this list. And you know, that's the only thing that makes real sense to me, is that it's some kind of personal thing. All right,
sure,
we settled it, buddy. Have a good show. I know it's going to be a short one. Have a good Sports Open Line, and we got the Billikens after that. But you have yourself a good night.
You too.
That's Matt Pauley. I'm Kevin Wheeler. This is Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
How many of you think taxes will go up in the future? And if they do, who will get hit the hardest? Maybe it's you, headed for retirement. You've been saving in that 401k or IRA, and that money has never been taxed. And Uncle Sam is looking at that account like it's a big, juicy steak. What can you do about it? Join the All Financial Group for their Taxes in Retirement Seminar, Thursday, February 19th or Tuesday, February 24th. They believe a financial plan is not a retirement plan without a tax plan. Fund your retirement, not Uncle Sam's. Reserve your spot today by calling 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
I'm Piera Palazzolo, VP of Digital Marketing for the American Management Association, a company focused on the management training skills needed to enhance the careers of business professionals. We did our research when it came to the best companies for website development and chose AmericanEagle.com. And we couldn't be happier. AmericanEagle.com worked closely with us to understand the front and back end requirements needed to launch an e-commerce, the complexities of running thousands of seminars nationwide. Our robust new website and improved SEO saw immediate increases in site traffic and web revenue. If you're in need of managerial effectiveness and success, visit our website at amanet.org. If you're in need of a website that provides an unparalleled consumer experience, I highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Transform your business today. Dial 877-WebNow1 for a free digital consultation with AmericanEagle.com.
This is John Pertzborn with Ben and Gentry for HeatUpSt.Louis.org.
We're the Golden Boys!
For the 26th Rise and Shine benefit.
It's Friday, February 13th.
Your lucky day to volunteer.
Or buy a sausage or egg biscuit for $1
at participating area Hardee's.
It's HeatUpStLouis.org to also pre-order. That's HeatUp,
Put the biscuits down, Ben.
Oi!
Big game, big screen, big energy at Ballpark Village, Sunday, February 8th. Enjoy the big game like you're in the end zone, featuring in-arena touchdown celebrations, band cams, contest VIP packages, and more, hosted by RDJ and DJ Dex. Save up to $10 on tickets with code KMOX. Tickets and event details at stlballparkvillage.com/events. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, if you're coming in for the Blues or the Billikens tonight, the traffic really isn't that bad. The only interstate coming eastbound or headed into downtown on the Missouri side is eastbound 64, the only one with delays, and it's just bogged down. Heavy traffic from 170 to about Big Bend, south 170, south of Brentwood down to 64. You've got heavy traffic. Starting to get a backup, though, downtown. That 14th Street exit is jammed. That's Blues game traffic. Obviously, the Billikens traffic's getting off a little sooner than that, but there is a backup there. And, of course, some of these ramps leading off the interstates are sort of congested downtown around Ballpark Village. Looks like like we got a lot of traffic right now. Illinois drivers coming in for either of those games. You look good. Eastbound 70 is a little heavy. Earth City into 270. A couple stalls. Eastbound 64 west to 270 at Lindbergh, both on the shoulders. Also reporting on westbound 44 at Lewis. Looks like that one is on the shoulder as well. Rest of these interstates look good. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
News, talk, cards. KMOX AM St. Louis. KMOX FM Hazelwood. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. CBS News has obtained a Customs and Border Protection notice sent to congressional officials on the death of Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. The official account confirms 2 federal immigration officials discharged their weapons. There is no mention of Preddy brandishing his gun prior to the shooting. CBS's Ian Lee says of the investigations and what Minnesota's governor and Minneapolis's mayor want.
They want an impartial investigation. They don't necessarily trust the federal government to do that. They want their own people at least to be part of those investigations so that they believe what happened will be known and that there can be no, essentially a cover-up, that everything is exposed as to what happened.
One person is in critical condition after a shooting involving Border Patrol in Pima County, Arizona, near the U.S.-Mexico border. The person who was shot was airlifted to a trauma center. Sheriff Chris Nano says the investigation is ongoing.
The FBI is going to do their part of the investigation, just like our PCRIT team does, and we'll handle the other part of the piece of this investigation, the actual shooting itself.
Senators return to Capitol Hill as a deal to avoid another government shutdown begins to unravel. Democrats are vowing to oppose a funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security following the latest shooting death in Minneapolis. CBS's Nicole Killian has more from Capitol Hill.
Democrats believe that there should be some reforms made to kind of rein in ICE's conduct. So they do not want to see this DHS funding bill as part of this broader appropriations package. Leader Thune told me and other reporters that he plans to proceed, that as of yet, a plan B has yet to be determined if, in fact, this procedural vote fails.
Around 407,000 customers are without power from Texas to Kentucky due to the snow and ice storm that plowed through a huge swath of the country. In Nashville, Tennessee,
lots of blankets. We have a ceramic pot and a candle underneath it to try to slightly stay warm. That's pretty much all we have. So we have a generator, but no heater.
At least 34 deaths are blamed on the storm. Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, says the United States has started unblocking Venezuelan funds that were frozen due to sanctions. She did not specify the amount. Holocaust survivors speak at the UN General Assembly Hall to commemorate the day the Soviet Red Army liberated the Nazi concentration camp in Auschwitz 81 years ago. 90-year-old Sarah Weinstein called for peace.
I have come here today with hand extended in a plea for peace in our world, so that the heart may have an open space to spread
real crimes, real justice. Follow and listen to 48 Hours on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
At 6:03, it's clear and 21 degrees now downtown to the Gateway Arch. Good evening, I'm Scott Jagow. Our top story tomorrow, Missouri's House Commerce Committee will hear Governor Kehoe's plan to impose a sales tax hike on all goods and services.
Progress Missouri had a Zoom conference and talked with several Missourians who emphasized what a hardship this will pose for them. Claire Cook-Callan says the details are unclear and intentionally vague.
This scheme would increase taxes for most Missourians, cut services that we rely on, and harm our state economy.
Aisha is a single mom.
With his tax plan, instead of making my groceries more expensive, they should be instead trying to figure out ways to make things more affordable for us.
Pastor Kevin D. Anthony of Pilgrim Congregation Church in St. Louis is serving residents hard hit by the May tornado.
The proposed Republican tax plan will eliminate state income tax, but will end up expanding and raising taxes for goods and services.
Now, if one of the two measures wins final legislative approval, it automatically would go on the November 3rd state ballot for voter ratification. Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
After this weekend's storm, Missouri officials want people to take a close look at their insurance.
The Missouri Department of Commerce and Insurance says Missourians dealing with frozen pipes, roof damage, vehicle damage, or power outages should call the state's consumer hotline. Officials say many homeowners' policies cover frozen pipes, ice-related roof damage, And even some food loss, and comprehensive auto insurance often covers ice damage to vehicles. They also urge people to reduce winter risks by keeping homes heated, trimming branches, and practicing fire safety. Matt Pilger, Missouri Net.
Drivers are still dealing with snow and ice in some places, but the big aftermath of this winter storm is probably going to be potholes. Lindsay Hermes is with the Missouri-based Biospan Technologies. She says traditional road salts weren't that effective during the cold. That means road crews had to use more damaging chemicals.
That further degrades the binders that are basically the glue that hold asphalt together. And the same thing with concrete. It's like introducing a cancer into that system that causes wear and tear to accelerate.
Her company creates soy-based products for pavement to protect them from harsh conditions. At 6:05, let's check on the roads. Here's Roger Brand in the traffic center.
Well, things are in pretty good shape to wrap it up for this evening, Scott. Again, if you're coming in downtown for the Blues or the Billikens, that's the only real traffic we have. Eastbound 64, just kind of slow from 170 to Big Bend. South 170 isn't even heavy at the U-Club Tower now, so minimal delays there. We had some slow traffic eastbound 70 past Star City. That has since thinned out downtown. There's a backup eastbound 64 getting off at 14th Street for those who headed to the Blues game. So a little congestion there. But with those asides, the rest of these interstates are in great shape any direction you're traveling on either side of the river. I'm Roger Brand in the Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
So the sun went down. Temperatures have plummeted more than 10 degrees, and they're going even further tonight.
Tonight, mostly clear, down to 0. Wednesday, sunny skies. We get ahead of another Arctic cold front, 29 on Wednesday. Wednesday night down to 9. Thursday, it's all about the northwest flow, and it is cold. 20 for the high. On Friday, partly sunny, the high only 15. Sunny and cold right through the weekend. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dave Murray on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Thank you, Dave. Right now, it's 17 in St. Peters, 19 in Florissant. It is 19 downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
Come on, let's get going now.
From KMOX Sports.
We're primed and ready.
All day, baby.
Man, let's go.
This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. On 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Here we go on a Tuesday night. Welcome in. It's Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Only have you for about 40 more minutes, 35, 40 minutes. We're going to get out of here a little bit early tonight because we've got Billikens basketball. They've got a good one tonight. They welcome in George Washington. St. Louis putting their number 21 ranking on the line tonight. Their 7-0 A-10 record, and they're beginning a key week as after they get done with this game tonight, they are going to start to get ready for a huge game coming up on Friday. And I'm not trying to look past tonight by any stretch of the mind. Tonight's it's an important game for sure. But you look to Friday and you see what's going to be coming up with Dayton coming to town. That's going to be one of the biggest games in the A-10 this year. Stu Durando had posted much earlier today that Ticketmaster was showing only 18 single seats remaining for the SLU game on Friday night over at Chaffetz Arena. So might be even less than that now. That's a really good sign, and that's going to be a rockin' arena come Friday night. Hopefully it is a rockin' arena tonight. Good downtown St. Louis night tonight with the Blues in action and the Billikens are in action. Roger Brand has been giving you traffic details throughout the evening on what's going on with both those games starting at about the same time, just a handful of blocks away from each other. Blues are going to match up against the Stars. They last played this Dallas team in Dallas on Friday, a game they lost 3-2, and the Blues are going to be looking to end a 4-game losing streak tonight. We'll see if they can do that. Amy Markscores is going to join us in just a little bit more than 10 minutes. We'll talk through that. So we'll talk we'll talk a fair amount of hockey with her. Then we'll preview the Billikens game. I wanted to mention this is one of those days where this is generally we lead off with baseball, right? And that's how we generally do things here on Sports Open Line. We talk baseball almost the entire hour on Rush Hour Sports outside of a little bit of time right at the end of the show. when we got into the Bill Belichick thing. And I've seen, by the way, just an update on that. I've seen a couple things on social media. Jimmy Johnson is really upset at the people who did not vote for Belichick. The individual who presented Belichick is not upset. There's Kevin kind of alluded to sort of a conspiracy theory. There seems to be more and more juice to the idea that maybe Bill Pauley had something to do with Belichick not being on the ballot this year, just for penance because of the cheating that occurred under his watch. So there more details about that are continuing to come out. From my perspective, I'm not trying to dismiss. Maybe I am. But it doesn't feel like, personally inside, I don't feel like I'm trying to dismiss the impact of cheating and doing things not quite above board. But to me, that stuff very much is aside to what Bill Belichick, the overall body of work with Bill Belichick. So that did surprise me. We talked about that enough, though, during Rush Hour Sports. Wanted to mention this. It became official. And City SC is going to be opening up their season here very shortly. They've been out in Florida. They're going to go to California. They're going through preseason action. Had a preseason matchup this past weekend. But it did become official that Klaus has been traded to the Los Angeles Galaxy. City SC in return is getting just under $2.5 million in cash. So that gives them a fair amount of allocation money that they can use to acquire other players. Right now, according to Tom Timmerman's reporting in the Post-Dispatch, City SC has a pile of allocation money that is sitting at better than $6 million. So that is the $2+ million that they get for Klaus certainly adds to that total. I have two thoughts on this, and I say these things as someone who very openly when I talk about City SC. And tomorrow we'll try to get somebody on the show who can speak more intelligently on this than I am going to. So just sort of from an observer's standpoint on this, the first thing I would say is they got to go use that money. If the guy who has been very much the face of the franchise is going to be sent out, and I understand the numbers and the production had waned a little bit, the health had not been where you wanted it to be. Like I understand all of those things, but he has been the face of that franchise, and he's been a really good member of that team, and he embraced St. Louis, and St. Louis embraced him and all that. If you are going to move away from that player, you have to make sure that money that you have does get spent. Now, I understand we have the transfer windows, so I'm not saying that they have to go out and spend this money before the season gets started. They did go acquire another guy. They went and signed left back Rafael Santos on a free transfer. So he's going to be with the team as they continue to try to find a little bit of consistency at the left back position. I think when you're talking about moving on from Klaus, the result of that has to be bringing in somebody who's going to be a pretty impactful player. And I'm not overly worried about it happening before the season gets started because it's not likely to happen before the season gets started. But I'd be fairly disappointed if they get into that next transfer window and they start making some moves and A, the money doesn't get spent, and B, you don't bring in people who are going to really impact the team. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I actually think this puts even more pressure on Corey Ray, who took over for Lutz Pfannenstiel, and for the entire organization to start winning again and winning again really soon. One of my complaints about City, and again, I will repeat, this is not so much from an on-field soccer standpoint. I am speaking very much from an emotional place here. Because just like you, we all went for that ride in year number 1 where they were awesome and it was so much fun. And we haven't had a lot of that in St. Louis where we're all kind of together. The Billikens have been really good this year, and it's great that they're probably going to sell out on Friday. And man, oh man, you hope that they get to the NCAA tournament, and that is something. the Blues run at the end of the year last year was something. And City SC's first year, it was something as well. So they start to lose, and not only do they start to lose, they started to move on from players who were faces of the franchise. Guys you knew. And maybe they weren't the best soccer players in the world. Maybe they did upgrade with the players that were brought in. So and a lot of these guys I got the opportunity to meet because we do those soccer showcase events during the season. But guys like Jake Nowitzki and Indiana Vasilev have got super good dudes. They were out there. They had a personality. A lot of people who knew who they were. The team moved on from those players, and the idea was to bring in better players. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I'm not the one to assess that. But what I can assess is that they didn't win. They didn't win. So if you're not going to win, I would much rather the team not win with people I know and like than not win with people I don't know. And that's what it turned into. So now you're moving on from another face of the team type of guy. You're moving on from Klaus, number 1 jersey seller for City SC since they've come into existence. An absolute fan favorite. You got to win. You got to win. You have to. Because if you don't win, guess what? You could have not won with Klaus on the roster. And that's kind of the danger that this team gets into, because I don't know if they're good enough to start winning. But if they have another terrible season this year, I'm going to sit here and say, well, you know what? If they would have had Klaus, at least there would have been a dude that I knew, a dude that loves St. Louis, a guy who's been a huge part of this organization. At least there's somebody there who's really easy to cheer for. I think City's got a problem right now, and I realize the MLS soccer is a minor league to other European leagues, leagues across the world, and you don't keep players for a really long time, generally speaking. But I want to know the players that I'm rooting for, and I think that is a problem for City right now, that there's just not a lot of character on this team. There's not a lot of people that everybody knows, and it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. Did we know all those people before because the team was winning, so there was more focus, so then that allowed their personality to come out? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But people know who Klaus is. He's not with City anymore. You better win. That's what I would say to that. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will talk Blues hockey. Amy Markscores is going to join us. That's in just a moment. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Buy big brands with Pro-Am Golf, test your skills, and win prizes while they last. VIP tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
Running a small business is a daily balancing act. One late shipment, one price hike, one employee issue, and your whole month, maybe the entire year, could be in trouble. That's where LendSeek comes in.
I needed $100,000 fast to keep up with inventory demands. LendSeek had me funded the same day I applied. Between their AI platform finding the fastest deal and a dedicated funding specialist guiding the process, it couldn't have been easier.
Our AI-driven platform matches your business with the right program from over 100 funders, up to $2 million in as fast as 24 hours. Don't wait until it's too late. If you've been in business at least 2 years with more than $500,000 in annual revenue, qualifying is simple. No collateral, no out-of-pocket costs, no hassle. From lines of credit, term loans to revenue-based financing, LendSeek is open for business. Apply in minutes at lendseek.com. That's LENDSEEK.com.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ETHOS.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Too many tools, too much stress, and way too many bills.
Odoo replaces it all. One connected platform for every part of your business, so you can work faster, smarter, and for less. Odoo, the only software you'll ever need.
Try it free today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
This is Corey from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. There's never a good time for your heating system to stop working. If yours does, no matter what time or day, Air Comfort Service offers 24/7 emergency HVAC service. Contact our award-winning team for 5-star heating service and stay in your comfort zone. For heating and 24/7 emergency service, contact Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation at aircomfortservice.com. That's aircomfortservice.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
Want to build income without a second job? Learn how real estate investing can help you create extra income one step at a time with Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
100 years, one legendary voice. Relive KMOX's century of service, classic audio, photos, videos, and more at KMOX100.com.
It's a Great Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us. We're with you for another about 25 minutes or so. Busy night tonight in downtown St. Louis. You'll hear it right here on KMOX. SLU basketball going to match up against George Washington. Also going on this evening, the Blues are back at it as they take on Dallas, and it is time for our weekly conversation with our good friend Amy Markscores. Of course, you hear her during Chris and Amy, 9 to noon every weekday here on KMOX. She is the co-host of Offside Hockey with Chris Kerber on Matrix Midwest. Amy Markscores, Hockey Amy, joins us on the program. Hi, Amy.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm all right. The Blues are playing again tonight. They're trying to end a losing streak. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I'm glad you are on to set me straight.
Hey.
I appreciate the positivity of Blues coach Jim Montgomery. I absolutely do. That being said, as the team loses and loses and loses, even if he's right, and he is right, I get a little worn down by him so often talking about the things that are going right, talking about, well, if we keep doing it this way, you're going to win games. You know, they'll lose a game by a single goal against a good team, and he'll say, you put out that effort, you're going to win more often than not. Is it good that he continues to have this message of positivity, or at some point should the narratives coming out of his mouth match the record of the team?
Yeah, that's a good question, Matt. I don't know if it's fair to say, but I feel like the Blues have accidentally tanked. And I use that term because I've had more and more people ask me about, you know, the Blues are the second worst team in the National Hockey League right now. And only Vancouver is beneath them. And I think the Blues have either the worst goal differential or they're tied with Vancouver, but they are one of the worst teams. Now, as we move towards the Olympic break, the trade deadline, you realize, it's kind of crazy that we're still talking about winning games. When do the fans, and maybe they already have, start talking about, my goodness, we could get the number 1 draft pick. If we're the last team, we have like a 25% chance. If we're the second to last team, I think we still have a 13% chance. And when are we going to shift? Because listening to Jim Montgomery, I still find myself thinking, man, they could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're not going to make the playoffs. And the only reason we were even talking about it is because the mushy middle is so bad and so many teams are in contention. But I think this is I think this 4-game losing streak that we've seen with the Blues here is kind of a watershed. Like, this isn't going to happen. So maybe as a coach, there is a bit of a lag, if you know what I mean, as far as how his rhetoric is going to change. Do I think he's going to say, we're not going to make the playoffs, but at least we're going to get maybe we'll get a high draft pick? No, that's not the coach's job. The coach's job is always to talk about trying to win games, but it might change a little bit in the next week or two.
Yeah, Yeah, it's just I'm with you. Maybe you just like touched on the thing that bothers me, and I couldn't put the right words to it, and you just did, because it's almost frustrating, Amy, that you listen to them and you start to feel good about the team, and then you go back and you can go to any website and look at the standings page, and you can be reminded about how bad they are.
You know what? And I think that's what it is. And I think that's why there's a lag. I think there's a lag and of course, a coach is always going to talk about winning games. I get that. He's never going to say, well, the season's over until they're mathematically eliminated. He's not going to talk about that. But the thing is, there was a lag for me. I think there was a lag for some Blues fans as far as realizing the reality of this team because the expectations were so high coming into the season, because they were terrible last year at the beginning of the season and turned it around at the Four Nations. We didn't panic soon enough, if that makes sense. For once in our lives, sports fans didn't panic soon enough. Like, that's so weird, but that's how I feel. Now, I know there are Blues fans who have been panicking for months now, but I really didn't. In fact, I was the big dumb idiot at the beginning of the season when they lost 7-2 or whatever, and they were losing these games. I said, "Well, ha ha, you silly people panicking. This isn't sustainable. Nobody loses all of their games 7-2." And then we went on to lose like most of our games 7-2. And so, like, you know what I mean? I feel like there was a lag for some fans looking at this team, and it's why we were okay with all the hopeful talk, post-game and about the Blues needing to do the right things, because we thought, well, the ingredients are here. If we have all the same ingredients where we made a chocolate cake last year, why can't we make a chocolate cake this year? Why isn't the cake rising? And again, like we said, we lost some key ingredients. We lost some veterans on defense. And we have our star players, all of our highest paid players are having career worst years all at the same time.
Which you have to find, if it's one or two guys, you have to figure out why or just move on.
Yeah.
I guess that's my next thing, Amy. I'm of the belief that this core group of players, you're not going to win anything with at a super high level. So why even try anymore? And I don't care if they have to sell for pennies on the dollar for some of these players. At that point, to me, you're buying cap space, and you can go try to do something in free agency or maybe a different type of trade down the line where you do pick up some salary. But I don't care about them getting value when they're trading away a good number of these players. Deep, and that's a thought that is shared by many people in the media, Blues fans. Like, that's not an original thought by me, even though I feel that way. Deep down, do you think Jim Montgomery kind of has that feeling and might internally be looking forward to a bit of a reset when it comes to the core group of this team?
I don't know how, the coaches are thinking. They're not blind to the team, right? I mean, the team's not blind to the team. But there is always going to be some element of decorum and positivity, which I think you want. I think you also want honesty, but sometimes have you ever seen players or coaches that are a little too honest and they're so despondent, and you think, my goodness, if they don't have hope, why should I care about this team? I know, I love Ryan O'Reilly, and a while ago with the Nashville Predators, Ryan O'Reilly, he said, I stink every game. I play terrible. We're not going to win when I can't even pass the puck. I think I've only had one good year in my entire career. And in some ways, it's refreshing and kind of sad to see that honesty. But in other ways, you're thinking, wow, this team's in really bad shape. Because you kind of have to lie to yourself a little bit to go out there and try to win every night. So, yeah, I think Jim Montgomery knows what he's dealing with. Here's the evidence of it. He's not switching up the lines as much as people say. He's not switching them up every night, but he does switch them up. You do see from the pattern of line changes and players being sent up or going down or sitting for a night, you can see he's not happy with how things are going because it's not working. But he has to play the roster he has. And right now, he's got Buchnevich and Kyrou and Thomas on full no-trade clauses until 31. So those guys are going to have to waive those clauses, which, you know what? Why wouldn't Kyrou? I don't, maybe he does. Maybe he thinks, you know what? I need a change of scenery. Things aren't working for me. Now, trades that could be made would be a Bennington or a Shen, let those guys go win somewhere else. Bennington is having a tough year, but, if he knocks, I think they start him, to be honest. I think they start him in the Olympics. And if he knocks out the Olympics, I think his trade value goes up. I would be sad. I don't want to lose Bennington and Shen, but maybe it's better for them.
Falk's another guy, but you can't trade Pavel Buchnevich. There's not a team even picking up a lot of money, which they're probably not going to do. You're paying him so much money. He's got the no trade. He's borderline untradeable. If they find a way to move on from Pavel Buchnevich, I'll be the first person to compliment the organization for finding a way to make that happen, because that just looks like a terrible contract.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't have a good answer. And you know what, though? Winning covers a multitude of sins. And if everyone else around Buchnevich were playing better and the team was winning, nobody would care about the contract.
And to Buchnevich's credit, since he's moved to the center spot, that line has looked okay. He's looked better. I think he's better as a winger than a centerman, but that he's been a little bit better recently, so it's not all bad for him. I want to be fair when it comes to that. Last thing for you, the team sent out of Stenberg down. It sounds like they're really high on this guy, but with the Olympic break coming up, they don't want him to be sitting for the better part of 2 weeks, so they send him down just to make sure that he continues to play games. Is that how you understand it?
Yep, yeah, and I think actually Chris Kerber, Joey Vitale talked as well about this, that's absolutely it. You have the guys who will be playing in the Olympics. You have other guys who will be in Cabo, on a beach somewhere. And Otto Stenberg's really coming into his own, and they needed to send him down now before they couldn't, so that he can get 3.5 weeks of hockey in. He's a young guy. He doesn't need to be sitting on a beach right now. So they want him to keep playing and to keep improving and to grow confidence. And that's exactly why they sent him down. It was not a, hey, you're not ready. It was, we need to get you in a position where you can play hockey through the entire Olympic break so we can bring you back up. You're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Amy Marks, of course, you listen to her every day. Chris and Amy, 9 to noon, right here on KMOX. Does a great job talking Blues alongside of Chris Kerber during the Offside Hockey Show, which can be seen on Matrix Midwest and also via their various social media apps if you want to grab it on demand. Amy, always appreciate you taking some time with us, and we'll talk to you during Chris and Amy later on this week.
Sounds good, Matt. Thank you.
All right, very good. Amy Marks scores with us. We appreciate her taking just a few moments of time with us. Aaron says, time to make some trades. We know the Blues are never going to trade or sign a monster player. I don't know about never, but I mean the track. It seems like the Blues tend to, I was going to use the word overvalue. That's probably the wrong word, but almost try to sell the idea of players who might be a second-line type player on a really good team as being the stars of this team, and it would be really nice to just have a legitimate star-level player. Maybe that happens if there's two dudes, including Stenberg's little brother. There's two dudes that are pretty good in the draft this year. If they get a top 2 pick, I'm going to be very comfortable with that. But if they're outside of the top 2, all of a sudden that's when the talent. Like Jimmy Snuggerwood's a really good player, and he's going to be a really good player, and I'm excited to see what he turns into, and maybe he's somebody who plays in an all-star game at some point, but I don't think Jimmy Snuggerwood, I'm really not trying to be dismissive of him right now because I think I really, really like him. He doesn't project to be like a superstar level player, and that's what it'd be just so nice if the Blues had one of those name superstar level players, and feels like the only way that's going to happen is if they trade for one. But hey, or draft one, I should say. Maybe there's a scenario, like my scenario is go trade everybody. Everybody's got any sort of big contract. Trade them. Hopefully get out from some of that money and don't really worry about what you get in return. Just try to buy as much cap space as you possibly can and go from there. And maybe, if you do that, something presents itself where you can bring in one of those more high-end players. But really, those guys don't move around very much. Teams lock them in. Like, they just stay play. The star players are not moving teams. That it happens, but it's a very rare thing for it to happen. We will take a break. We'll come back. We'll have just a few minutes left in the program. We'll talk a little bit about the Billikens. They are back at tonight. They've got a big one over at Chaffetz Arena as they start just a huge week. We'll discuss that, and then we'll get out of here for the night and hand things off to Bob Ramsey and Earl Austin Jr. They've got the call of the Billikens tonight. Don't go anywhere. We'll roll on in just a moment right here on KMOX.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Health Trends, sponsored by LendSeek.
Boston Medical Center research suggests cannabis isn't harmless despite legalization. An analysis of 4.6 million adult cannabis users over 5 years found new cases of diabetes were almost 4 times more common compared with people who had no record of using cannabis or major chronic conditions. Researchers are still investigating how cannabis may affect insulin resistance and lead to type 2 diabetes. I'm Margie Schaefer.
Last month, my business cash flow got tight. Sales were slow, invoices were late, and payroll was coming fast. My business is everything, and people rely on me. I can't let them down. I applied online at lendseek.com and had business funding in 24 hours.
Business moves fast. Don't wait until it's too late. Whether it's lines of credit, term loans, working capital funding, or revenue-based financing, LendSeek is open for business. Apply now at lendseek.com.
When my wife and I got married after both graduating law school, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. Ultima had to give me her gas card just to drive home. We never could have imagined that one day we would have the largest injury firm in the world and $25 billion in money collected and counting. As good Catholics, we had 4 children fast. They all work in the firm today. Our family protecting yours. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. But our greatest gift was years away, grandchildren. Today we have 6 and counting. It's the greatest joy that we have ever experienced. I think about them all day long. Our family promises to protect your family should you need us. Call us. It's easy. Visit forthepeople.com and make sure you hug your grandchildren. God's final gift to us. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house? On the walls, the patios, the walkways, the porch, or the chimneys? If so, you need to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. 314-645-1387. You might need one of 2 things: solid tuck pointing, the removal of old mortar with the replacement of new mortar throughout an entire wall or chimney, or maybe just spot tuck pointing. Spot tuck pointing involves the tuck pointing of a particular wall, a chimney, or other masonry surface in an area where it's needed the most. One example might be settlement cracks, usually found above or below windows or doorways. 314-645-1387. Call the company that the Brennans have called when we've needed tuck pointing. Morelli Tuck Pointing, the masonry specialists. Winner of the Angie's List Super Service Award every year since 2005. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st at St. Charles Convention Center. Get bonus golf balls and Pro Tour tickets while they last. Presented by Post Dispatch. Test big brands with Pro-Am Golf. Enjoy the Sinclair Lincoln Long Putt, Trilogy Financial Simulator, and lessons by Elevate Golf at the Golf Expo January 30th through February 1st in St. Charles. Thanks to ESPN 101, Tito's Vodka, Sun Valley Golf Course, Yingling Flight, and the BMW Championship. Special tickets at STLGolfExpo.com.
At Graybar, we know your time is money. That's why our services go beyond parts and products. With kitting, pre-assembly, wire carts, and Graybar smart reels that keep you moving. We stage materials and manage logistics so you can spend less time sorting and more time installing. And with locations nationwide, we deliver when and where you need it, working to make your job easier every step of the way. Yep, Graybar does that.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Welcome back in as we do start to wrap things up here on this edition of the program. We are going to we're going to be done here in just a few minutes as we get out of here for Billikens basketball. Big night tonight for them as they open up what could be a really special, and I keep using the word big. I need to expand my vocabulary, but indeed quite large this week for the Billikens as they match up tonight against George Washington, and then they are going to take on Dayton coming up on Friday night. And I don't want to – the number one thing I don't want to do is just gloss through this night because this is a George Washington program that is pretty good. Now, they're 4-3 in A-10 play. I'm not trying to lift them up into being a like this great team, but they're good. They've got a really good player. They've got one of the best players in the league. And it's just if you're SLU and you want to accomplish everything that you want to accomplish during the year, basically you can't take bad losses. When you play in a power conference, you can take a bad loss or you can take a loss in conference play, and you're going to be okay. And I'm not predicting that SLU's going to finish A-10 play undefeated. They're 7-0 right now. Could that happen? It could. I think they're better than every team in the Atlantic 10, but they are likely to stumble at some point in time. There's going to be a tough road game somewhere that they end up going in, and they don't play particularly well. Like the 2 games ago, the effort that they put in, it did result in a win, but that game at Duquesne on Tuesday, if you play the way you did against Duquesne against a team like Dayton on Friday night, there's a good chance that you're going to lose that game, and that could happen. It's really, really hard in college basketball to be totally 100% consistent from one game to the next. So you would think they're going to stumble at some point. You would think that they would lose a game somewhere, but you can't afford many of those because not only do you want to be a team that can get to the NCAA tournament, and I am completely and totally fine talking about this as an NCAA tournament team. They are in the top 25. They're getting a ton of respect. A lot of people view them as being the best mid-major team in the country, and I think all of that is correct in saying that. But if you want that, if you want to be in a spot where if you do stumble in the conference tournament and don't get the auto bid, if you end up winning the conference tournament and now you're talking about seeding in the tournament and giving you the best possible chance to go on a little bit of run, that's where every single one of these games matter. And that's where it's tough to be a mid-major team because when you're a major conference team, there's going to be times where you lose a game and it stinks in the moment, but it doesn't really have ramifications. If SLU were to lose tonight against George Washington, that would end up having ramifications on what their seeding would be at the end of the year. And that's just the way things are, and that's part of being a mid-major team. There's been rumblings out there. Eric Schmidt, our senator, had something to do with that about maybe this team not being mid-major. That doesn't sound like it's going to happen anytime soon, but that'd be fun. And right now, the job is just to go take care of business and do what they need to do. Always love listening to Bob Ramsey and Earl Austin Jr. They are the absolute best at calling basketball games, and you're going to be able to hear them coming up. And don't turn that broadcast off just when the game gets over. Their post-game conversations with Josh Schertz are absolutely amazing. I love listening to those. It is the Billikens and George Washington. Our coverage begins at 2 minutes. I'll be back with you tomorrow for more Sports Open Line right here on KMOX.
Many of you know that my inspiration for becoming an accident attorney was my brother Tim.